You see that? So we're not just saying that ourselves. A lot of people are seeing through the lies. A lot of people are seeing through the lies. All the nations are seeing through the lies. Why? Because you Latinos and Native Americans are not rising up as the light unto the Gentiles.
Look, Ham, also calm, literally meaning or hot, burnt, or dark, father of the Mongoloid and Negroid races. So he actually cut himself with his own source. Again, this is what I keep telling you, this is what's silly about their arguments. So we already debunked about all people living all throughout these nations. This was the founder's son. What is he wearing, people? Mighty Hebrew says that these people don't teach that they're Israelites. They're a cult and that they're just Christians. What Christians do you know wear the ephod plate?
So I don't think Christ or the Most High look like a green man or like a blue man or like a pink man, right? It looks like Barrow, and Barrow is like these brother looks right here. We can see his color, the yellow Barrow, and the body himself. They look alike, just like it continues on to say. I'm gonna read it again, Daniel 10:6. His body also was like the Barrow, and his face as the appearance of lightning.
So now it's telling you that his face was the appearance of lightning. Now, if you look at this image again, what color is lightning?
I don't think
so. Now we have 3 precepts of the head looking as white as snow, as the sun shining at its brightest, and as the appearance of lightning. How are you getting a black man out of that?
That love is with I, Yehudah and I, them a fight, them a fight, them a fight, them a fight down I. Let them fight, let them fight, let them fight, let them fight and say, I no kill no one. I no envy no one. I no grudge no one. Yes, I love everyone. Them a fight, them a fight, them a fight, them a fight down I want strong, I want strong, I want strong, 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 strong. Jah is with us. Jah love is with us. He ruled us all, and He loves us all. So let them fight, let them fight, let them fight, let them fight themselves. I am strong, I am strong, I am strong, 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 strong. I am youth, man.
Grace and peace be unto you. This is your brother Judah Yehudah. And once again, I'm coming for another quick dagger session to get at these heathen Hispanics, especially those clowns at ancient Watchmen, right? So what we're going to do today is we're going to deal with the nation called the Colchians. And that is the question. Who was the Colchians? The Colchians was a nation, was an ancient nation. But the question is, who was the Colchians, right? So the first thing I want to do, again, is read what the ancient historian, right, Herodotus wrote. Herodotus was a Greek historian, right? And Herodotus also traveled to Egypt, and Herodotus saw the Egyptians with his own eyes, right? So once again, let's read what he said. Herodotus says the Colchians, but that is the question. Who is the Colchians? Who is the Colchians, right? He says the Colchians, the Ethiopians, and the Egyptians have thick lips, broad nose, woolly hair, and they are burnt of skin. Once again, Herodotus, who was a Greek historian, and he witnessed seeing the ancient Egyptians with his own eyes, and the Colchians, and the Ethiopians. He said the Colchians, Ethiopians, the Egyptians, they have thick lips, broad nose, woolly hair, and they are burnt of skin. They're burnt of skin. But the question again, who is the Colchians, right? So what we're going to do now is go to the book of Josephus. Josephus reveals. So what we're going to do now, I am going to read from the Britannica, right? The Britannica, giving us a little information about the Colchians, right? It says right here, the Colchians, for example, as described in the 5th century BC by the Greek historian Herodotus, as I just read, were black-skinned Egyptians, though their true origin remained unclear. Though their true origin remains unclear. So it says that the true origins of the Colchians remains unclear. It says that many people assume that they were Egyptians, but it says though their true origin remains unclear. You see that? Let me read it one more time. The Colchians, for example, as described in the 5th century BC by the Greek historian Herodotus, were black-skinned Egyptians, though their true origin remains unclear. But here's the question. Why did most people or some scholars believe that the Colchians were also Egyptians? Why did they believe this here? Now let's go and read and see. Let's go to the book of Josephus. Let's see why many people thought that the Colchians were also Egyptians. Because remember now, they said that the Colchians, the Ethiopians, and the Egyptians, according to Herodotus, they all looked alike. He said they all was a Negro-looking people. So this is the book of Josephus, right? The book of Josephus. Let's see what he says. He says, but now it is proper to satisfy the inquiry of those, that disbelieve the records of the barbarians and think none but Greeks to be worthy, right, of credit, and to produce many of these very Greeks who were acquainted with our nation. Herodotus said that many of the Greeks, including Herodotus, were acquainted with our nation. Okay, Josephus says our nation. That many nations like the Greeks were acquainted with our nation, meaning the Israelites, right? So many nations like the Greeks, Josephus wrote, that were acquainted with our nation, the Israelites, and to set before them such as upon occasion have made mention of us, meaning the Jews, the Israelites, in their own writings. So Josephus said that these Greeks made mention of us, the Israelites, in their own writings. Let's continue. Let's read and start right here, where it says here, but mention it after a way of his own. Now he's talking about another guy who is describing the Colchians, right? But mention it after a way of his own, when he said thus in the second book concerning the Colchians. But the question is, who is the Colchians, right? Because as I said before, Herodotus said that the Colchians, the Egyptians, and the Ethiopians, they all looked alike, right? And I just showed you that it says that many were not sure who was the Colchians, right? Many assumed that the Colchians were the Egyptians. But look what it says here. Concerning the Colchians, right? His words are these. The only people who were circumcised in their genitals originally were the Colchians. And the Colchians, folks, are the Israelites. Let's continue. Let's prove it. Look what Josephus says. The Egyptians and the Ethiopians were the only people that were circumcised, right? That's what he says. But the Phoenicians and those Syrians that are in Palestine confess that they learned it from the Egyptians, talking about the circumcision. And for those Syrians who lived about the rivers Thermodon, right, and the Parthenius and their neighbors, the Macrones, they say they have lately learned it from the Colchians, meaning learned circumcision from the Colchians. Let's continue. Let's continue to read, right? And then it says, and appear to have done the very same thing with the Egyptians, but as for the Egyptians and the Ethiopians themselves, I am not able to say which of them received it from the other. So he said he wasn't sure about the Egyptians or the Ethiopians who received the circumcision from the other, right? And then he says, I am not able to say. This, therefore, is what Herodotus says, that the Syrians are in Palestine are circumcised. But there are no inhabitants of Palestine that are circumcised, right? But let's skip down right here. He said that this guy named Cherilus, you see Cherilus also a still more ancient writer. So he says that this guy is a more ancient writer than Herodotus, and informs us that it came to the assistance of King Xerxes in his expedition, right, against Greece, for in his enumeration of all those nations, Josephus said that he last of all inserts ours among the rest. So Josephus said that this guy here, right, this guy, Cherilus, he inserts our nation among the rest. Okay, among the rest, talking about the Jews, right, the Israelites. Let's continue to read. When he says, at the last, there passed over a people wonderful to be beheld. Talking about the Colchians, the Israelites. For they spoke the Phoenician tongue, the Hebrew, with their mouths. They dwelt in the Solimene mountains, near a broad lake. And when you look at the Solimene mountain, that is going towards like going towards India, right? The Solomon Mountains near a broad lake. But look what he says about the Kokians. Their heads were sooty. Sooty means black. The word sooty means black. They had round razors on them. Their heads and faces were like nasty horse heads. When you look at a nasty horse head, it is the color of brownish red. It is a ruddy complexion, the same complexion as black people. Ruddy, brownish red, a horse head, right? And then he says that had been hardened in the smoke, meaning that was a very black-skinned people. And then Josephus says, I think, therefore, that it is evident. Josephus said, I think it is evident. Now he's saying, I think, or I believe. He said, I think it is evident to everybody that Cherilus, this guy Cherilus, who mentioned his nation, means us. So Josephus said this guy is talking about our nation, because the Solomon Mountains are in our country. Josephus says, wherein we inhabit. Okay, but look what he says here. For this is a broader and larger lake than any other that is in Syria, and thus Cherilus make mention of us. Right. So Josephus is letting us know. He's letting you and I know, right, that the Kokians were considered to be the Israelites. When you go back one more time, it says concerning the Kokians, the only people who were circumcised in their genitals are the Kokians, right? Josephus said this is talking about our nation. So folks, the Kokians was another name for the Hebrew Israelites. Okay, the Kokians were the Hebrew Israelites. The Israelites were the Kokians. And the Kokians are a black nation. Described as a black nation, a sooty black nation. Just as Herodotus said, the Kokians, the Egyptians, and the Ethiopians, they all had broad nose, thick lips, and woolly hair. That's a straight dagger, straight cuts to all these heathens and these morons in these camps, you know, trying to hold on to this lie, right? This blasphemous lie. And right here, you see images of this black family, right? Of Kokians. These are Kokians right here. This image was taken like the 1920s or the 30s, if I'm not mistaken, right? A black family of the Kokians. The Kokians, they still in that region, what is called Turkey today. So you're looking at a black family of the Kokians right here. Just as Josephus mentioned and Herodotus, that there was black Jews and they looked just like the Egyptians and the Ethiopians. Another Turk, black Kokian brother in Turkey, as you see right here. There's no getting around it, man. You can't deny it. The historians like Cherilus and Herodotus and Josephus, all eyewitnesses, and Tacitus. And you think I'm going to sit back and believe these modern day morons when Tacitus, Cherilus, Herodotus, Josephus were eyewitnesses? Eyewitnesses, and knew exactly what the Jews looked like? And I'm going to sit back and listen to these lying ass clowns? Y'all niggas done lost your minds. And you can't get better than these sources here. No better. I'm not going to sit back and listen to these modern day morons talking about some gypsies and Hispanics and Mexicans are our peoples. Josephus didn't mention any damn thing about no Mexican looking people. Didn't mention nothing about no European Hispanic phenotype looking people. Nor Herodotus, nor Cherilus. Nobody mentioned nothing about no phenotype Mexican or Hispanic or gypsies looking people. Like it says here, again, it says, for example, as described in the 5th century BC by the Greek historian Herodotus, were black-skinned Egyptians, talking about the Colchians. They thought that they was Egyptians. Then it says, though their true origin remains unclear. Why? Because the Colchians, which is the Israelites, they lived among the Egyptians. That's why many people assume that they came from the Egyptians. They came out of Egypt, correct? The Colchians or the Israelites was led by Moses, and they did come out of Egypt, correct? They came out of Egypt. That's why it says here one more time, many thought they were black-skinned Egyptians, though their true origin remains unclear. But when you go back now to the book of Josephus, he lets you know that the Colchians is talking about the Jews or the Israelites, which backs up Herodotus when he says they look like the Ethiopians and the Egyptians. Let me ask you guys something real quick. Does this heathen Asian or these so-called gypsies, do they look like Colchians to you? Black Colchians? Do they look like black Israelite Colchians? Does these people look like the people described by Cherilus, Herodotus, and Josephus? Do these people look like Colchians to you, Jose? The heathen from ancient Watchmen? Do y'all see any black Negro looking Colchian Israelites that was compared to the black Egyptians and the black Ethiopians? Yes or no? Let me know. Somebody please leave a comment on my board and let me know if you see any of these people that look like the Colchians described by Josephus, Herodotus, Cherilus, and also Tacitus. There was black, Negro looking people with woolly hair, as Herodotus said, thick lips, woolly hair, burnt skin. Now you see why these dudes are not going to debate FOPE, including that white boy Sakari. It ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. They don't want none of this. Let me tell you guys something, man. That debate will be over in 5 minutes. I put my life on it. 5 minutes. Yes, ask this Jose clown, do these look like black Colchian Israelites? Black Colchian Israelites compared to the Egyptians and the Ethiopians as described by Herodotus, who was an eyewitness who seen them with his own eyes. With his own eyes, he saw the black Colchian Israelites, right? The Egyptians and the Ethiopians. This guy is a joke. He's a clown.